Admiral Kate Morrison walked into the war room deep under Washington, D.C. The lights were dim and everyone looked worried. On the big screen, she could see enemy ships floating in space near Mars. There were hundreds of them, all different shapes and sizes. Some looked like giant spiders, others like crystal towers that sparkled in the sunlight. "How many ships do they have?" Morrison asked. 300 confirmed, Admiral," said Commander Jake Phillips. He was young but smart, and Morrison trusted him. "They come from 12 different alien races, all part of something they call the Galactic Confederation." Morrison nodded and looked at the other officers in the room. Major Lisa Grant was at the weapons station, her fingers dancing over the controls. Lieutenant Commander Ron Taylor sat at communications, listening to alien messages through his headphones. Captain Amy Brooks stood near the back, talking quietly into her radio with Earth's space fleet. "What do they want?" Morrison asked. "They sent us a message an hour ago," Taylor said. "It's not good news." The main screen changed to show alien text with English words underneath. Morrison read it slowly. The aliens wanted Earth to surrender completely. They wanted humans to give up all weapons except basic ones for protecting the planet. They wanted to put Earth under alien control, with alien bosses telling humans what to do. The worst part was what they wanted to do with people. All humans would have to move to special areas that the aliens would choose. The aliens would decide how many babies humans could have. They would control all human technology and decide what humans were allowed to learn. "This is slavery," Morrison said, quietly. "Yes, Admiral," Phillips replied. "But they say if we don't agree, they will destroy every human on Earth. They gave us 6 hours to decide." Morrison looked around the room again. These were good people, smart people who had spent their lives protecting Earth. She could see the fear in their eyes, but she also saw something else. She saw the same anger that was burning in her own chest. "How many ships do we have?" she asked Brooks. 200, Admiral. Most of them are smaller than their ships. Our weapons are not as powerful either. But our crews are better trained, Morrison said. Maybe, Brooks replied. But Admiral, even if our people are twice as good as theirs, they still have more ships, and their technology is much more advanced. Morrison walked to the window that looked out into space. She could see Earth below, blue and white and beautiful. She thought about her daughter living in California, about her grandson who had just started school. She thought about all the people on Earth who were going about their normal lives, not knowing that aliens wanted to make them slaves. "Admiral," Taylor said, "the alien ambassador is calling again. They want our answer." Morrison turned back to face the room. Every person there was looking at her, waiting for her decision. The choice seemed simple but terrible. Say yes and humans would live but never be free again. Say no and everyone might die. But Morrison had been in the military for 30 years. She had fought in wars on Earth and helped explore space. She knew that some things were more important than just staying alive. "Open a channel to the alien fleet," she told Taylor. "Channel open, Admiral." Morrison stood straight and looked directly at the camera that would send her message to the aliens. When she spoke, her voice was calm and strong. "This is Admiral Kate Morrison, speaking for Earth and all humanity. We have read your treaty. We understand your terms. Our answer is no." She paused for a moment, then continued. "Humans have never accepted slavery. We have fought wars against our own people to end it. We will not start accepting it now, especially from aliens who think they can threaten us into submission." Phillips looked worried. "Admiral, maybe we should—" Morrison held up her hand to stop him. She was not finished with her message. "You offer us life as pets in exchange for our freedom. You want us to live in cages you build, to have only the children you allow, to learn only what you approve. This is not life. This is just a slow death." The room was completely quiet now. Even the hum of computers seemed softer. "So here is our counteroffer," Morrison continued. "Leave our solar system. Now, go back to your homes and tell your people that Earth is not for sale. Tell them that humans choose freedom over safety, dignity over life." She took a deep breath. "If you want our world, you will have to take it by force. And I promise you this, We will make you pay for every inch of ground, for every drop of water, for every breath of air. We may not win, but you will remember the cost of fighting humanity for 1,000 years. Morrison looked at Taylor. End transmission. The room stayed quiet for several seconds, then Phillips spoke. Admiral, they're responding. The alien message was short and simple. Your decision is noted. Prepare for consequences. On the screen, the alien ships began to move. Energy readings showed they were charging their weapons. Morrison turned to address everyone in the room. All right, people. You heard their answer. Send a message to every human ship, every space station, every colony. Tell them that in 30 minutes Earth goes to war. She walked to the main communications panel. This is Admiral Morrison to all human forces. The aliens have rejected our right to exist as free people. They believe superior technology makes them superior beings. Today we prove them wrong. Brooks began typing quickly, sending orders to the space fleet. We have 200 ships against their 300. Morrison continued on the open channel. We have brave crews against alien robots. We have the home advantage and the knowledge that we fight for our children's future. She looked around the war room one more time. I won't lie to you. Many of us will die today. Maybe all of us. But we die as free humans, not as alien slaves. We die fighting for Earth, for our families, for the right to choose our own destiny. The first alien energy blasts appeared on the sensors, racing toward the human fleet. All ships, battle stations. Show them what humans do when someone tries to put us in chains. Show them why freedom is worth dying for. The war for Earth's independence had begun. The first alien weapons hit human ships at exactly 2:30 in the afternoon. Captain Sam Rodriguez felt his destroyer shake as enemy plasma beams missed by only a few hundred meters. The New York was one of Earth's newest ships, but it looked like a toy next to the massive alien vessels. All crew, battle stations, Rodriguez called over the ship's speakers. This is not a drill. We are at war. His bridge crew moved quickly to their positions. Lieutenant Ben Carter took control of the weapon systems while Commander Julie Barnes handled the shields and engines. Navigator Paul Stone plotted their course through the growing battle. Captain, I'm reading 300 alien ships moving toward Earth, Carter reported. They're in 12 different groups, each group from a different alien race. Rodriguez looked at his screen. The alien ships were beautiful in a terrifying way. The Zephyrian vessels looked like silver birds with wings that seemed to move even in space. The crystalline ships were like living diamonds that caught and bent the light from the sun. The arachnid ships really did look like giant metal spiders, with legs that moved and adjusted as they flew. How many human ships do we have in the fight? Rodriguez asked. 187, sir. We lost 13 ships in the first minute. Rodriguez felt his stomach drop. 13 ships meant at least 1,000 human lives lost already, and the real fighting had barely started. Target the nearest enemy ship, he ordered Carter. Let's see what our weapons can do. The New York fired its main laser cannon at a crystalline vessel. The beam hit the alien ship's shields and spread, out like water hitting a window. The enemy ship didn't even slow down. Direct hit, no damage, Carter reported. Captain, their shields are much stronger than we expected. On the main screen, Rodriguez watched human ships dying all around them. The Earth vessel Boston exploded in a ball of fire when 3 alien ships hit it at the same time. The Miami tried to run from a Zephyrian attack but couldn't move fast enough. One by one, human ships were being destroyed while barely scratching the enemy. But Rodriguez noticed something interesting. The aliens were fighting like they expected humans to run away after the first few ships were destroyed. They moved in perfect formations, following rules that must have worked against other planets they had conquered. Barnes, can you get me a channel to all human ships? He asked. Yes, sir, channel open. Rodriguez took a deep breath. He wasn't an admiral, but someone had to try something different. This is Captain Rodriguez to all Earth vessels. Stop trying to fight them the way we trained. Stop following the battle plans. These aliens think we're like every other species they've conquered. But we're not. He paused as another human ship exploded nearby. Look at how they move. They stay in formation no matter what. They follow their plans even when their plans don't work. Use that against them. Be unpredictable. Be crazy. Be human. Rodriguez turned to his navigator. Stone, take us straight at that big arachnid ship, full speed. Sir, that's suicide, Stone replied. Maybe. Do it anyway. The New York turned and accelerated directly toward a massive enemy vessel that looked like a metal spider the size of a city. The alien ship began charging its weapons to destroy the small human ship that dared to attack it head-on. But at the last second, Rodriguez ordered a hard turn to the left. The New York spun around the alien ship's leg and ended up directly under its main body, in a blind spot where the enemy weapons couldn't reach. Now, Carter, fire everything we have. The human ship's lasers and missiles hit the alien vessel's belly, where the shields were weakest. Explosions rippled across the enemy ship's hull and it began to drift helplessly. First kill for humanity, Rodriguez shouted over the radio. Other human captains began copying Rodriguez's tactics. Captain Linda Hayes in the Phoenix used a destroyed human ship as cover, hiding behind the wreckage until she could get close to an enemy vessel. Captain Mike Torres in the Dallas pretended his ship was disabled, then attacked when the aliens came close to examine the wreck. The most heroic moment came when Commander Sarah Mitchell led a squadron of small fighter ships against a Zephyrian command vessel. Her wingman, Lieutenant Dan Walsh, had been hit, and his ship was falling apart. Sarah, my engines are gone and I'm losing air, Walsh said over the radio. Tell my wife I remembered our wedding anniversary this time. Dan, no. Break off and head for the nearest human ship, Mitchell replied. But Walsh was already turning his dying fighter toward the enemy command ship. Sorry, Sarah. Someone has to make these aliens understand that humans don't give up. Walsh's ship hit the Zephyrian vessel at full speed. His fuel tanks exploded and tore a massive hole in the enemy ship's side. The alien command vessel lost power and began spinning out of control. That's for threatening our families, Mitchell whispered. The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships used tactics the aliens had never seen before. Some pretended to be destroyed, then attacked when enemies came close. Others worked in pairs, with one ship distracting the enemy while the second attacked from behind. A few desperate captains even rammed their ships into alien vessels when they ran out of ammunition. But the numbers were still against humanity. For every alien ship destroyed, Earth lost 3 of its own. The human fleet that had started with 200 ships was down to fewer than 50. Admiral Morrison watched the battle from Earth's command center. Her heart broke every time she saw a human ship disappear from the screen. But she was also proud. The aliens had expected Earth to surrender after losing the first few ships. Instead, humans were fighting harder with every loss. Admiral, Major Grant called out, "We're getting a signal from the moon colonies. The miners are launching ships to help in the battle." Morrison looked at the screen in amazement. Hundreds of small ships were leaving the moon's surface. Most were cargo haulers and construction vehicles, not warships. The miners were coming to fight with whatever they had. "They can't fight alien warships with mining equipment," she said. "I know, Admiral, but they're doing it anyway." The civilian ships reached the battle area just as the last organized human military units were being overwhelmed. The miners and construction workers couldn't destroy alien ships, but they could distract them. Cargo haulers flew between alien formations, causing confusion. Construction mechs grabbed onto enemy ships and wouldn't let go, even as alien weapons tore them apart. Captain Rodriguez, one of only 12 military captains still alive, watched civilian heroes sacrifice themselves to buy time for the remaining warships to escape. "All human vessels, fall back to Earth orbit," he ordered. "We've done all we can here." The first battle was over. Humanity had lost, but the aliens had learned something they hadn't expected. Conquering Earth was going to cost them much more than they had planned. 3 months after losing the space battle, Earth was a very different place. Alien ships patrolled the skies and alien soldiers walked the streets of every major city. The Galactic Confederation had won, but they quickly learned that winning the war and controlling the planet were 2 different things. Colonel Jack Harrison crouched behind the broken wall of what used to be a shopping mall in Detroit. Through his binoculars, he watched a patrol of arachnid soldiers walking down the empty street. The spider-like aliens moved in perfect formation, their plasma rifles ready to shoot anything that moved. "Team 2, do you see them?" Harrison whispered into his radio. "I count 6 hostiles. came the reply from Sergeant Lisa Green, who was hiding on the roof of a nearby building. They're following the same route they used yesterday. Good. That means they haven't learned to be unpredictable yet. Harrison had been fighting aliens for 3 months now, ever since the government surrendered and most of the military was destroyed. He had learned that different alien races had different weaknesses. The arachnids were strong and well-armed, but they always did exactly what their training told them to do. They never changed their patrol routes or timing. The Zephyrians were smarter and more flexible, but they were also proud. If you killed one of their officers, the others would chase you for days, leaving their assigned duties to hunt for revenge. The crystalline beings were the hardest to fight because they could communicate with each other without using radios, but they were also the most fragile. A regular human bullet could crack their crystal bodies if you hit them in the right place. All teams, prepare for ambush, Harrison said into his radio. The attack lasted 15 seconds. Green's team hit the aliens from above with homemade explosives while Harrison's people attacked from the sides. The arachnids tried to form a defensive circle, just like their training manual probably said they should. But human guerrilla fighters didn't stay in one place long enough for defensive circles to work. When the smoke cleared, all 6 aliens were dead. Harrison's people quickly took their weapons and equipment before disappearing back into the ruins of the city. Good work, everyone, Harrison said as they reached their underground hideout. That makes 43 enemy soldiers this week. The hideout was in an old subway tunnel that the aliens hadn't found yet. It was cold and damp, but it was home for 37 human fighters who refused to give up. They had beds made from old furniture, a kitchen that used camp stoves, and even a small medical area where Dr. Ellen Hayes treated wounded fighters. Dr. Hayes was not originally a soldier. Before the invasion, she had been a scientist studying alien technology that Earth had traded for with friendly species. Now she spent her time trying to figure out how enemy equipment worked so humans could use it against them. Jack, come look at this, Dr. Hayes called from her makeshift laboratory. Harrison walked over to where Hayes was examining an alien communication device. She had it connected to a human computer and was studying the signals it produced. I think I figured out something important, she said. All the alien species use energy shields to protect their bodies and their ships. But the shields all work on the same basic principle. She showed him a graph on her computer screen. See this frequency here? Every alien shield operates between these 2 points. But look what happens when I do this. Hayes turned on an old human radio and tuned it to a specific station. On her computer, the graph showing the alien shield frequency began to jump around wildly. Human radio waves interfere with their shield technology, she explained. If we can build a device that broadcasts the right kind of radio signal, we could shut down their shields completely. Harrison stared at the screen. How sure are you about this? Pretty sure. I've been testing it with captured alien equipment for weeks. The effect is definitely real. How big would this device need to be? Hayes thought for a moment. To affect shields in a small area like a single building, we'd need something about the size of a refrigerator. To affect an entire city, we'd need something much bigger. Harrison nodded. This could change everything, but first, they needed to share this information with other resistance groups around the world. In the Amazon rainforest, Lieutenant Carlos Sanchez led a group of Brazilian fighters against alien supply convoys. The thick jungle made it easy to hide, and the aliens had trouble adapting to the hot, humid environment. Carlos had learned that crystalline soldiers became sluggish when the temperature got too high, so his people always attacked during the hottest part of the day. In the mountains of Nepal, Captain Nina Patel commanded a team that specialized in destroying alien communication equipment. The high altitude made it hard for most alien species to breathe properly, giving humans an advantage. Nina's fighters could climb mountains that left alien soldiers gasping for air. In the Australian outback, Major Steve Clark turned the desert into a nightmare for alien patrols. His people used the vast empty spaces to their advantage, appearing from nowhere to attack enemy convoys, then disappearing again into the endless sand and rock. All around the world, humans were learning how to fight back. They used the aliens' own technology against them. They exploited weaknesses in alien psychology and biology. Most importantly, they never stopped fighting. The aliens had expected humans to accept defeat after losing the space battle. Most species throughout the galaxy did exactly that. When the Confederation conquered a planet, the local population usually gave up and tried to get along with their new rulers. Humans were different. Every time the aliens thought they had destroyed the resistance in one area, new fighters appeared somewhere else. Every time they adapted to human tactics in one region, the humans in other areas came up with new ways to attack. General Paul Martinez was the highest-ranking human military officer still alive. He coordinated resistance activities from a bunker deep under the Rocky Mountains. His job was to make sure all the different resistance groups could share information and work together. "We're getting reports from 37 countries," he told his staff during their daily briefing. "Confirmed alien casualties are now over 8,000. That's more than they lost in the space battle." His intelligence officer, Colonel Maria Santos, added more good news. "The aliens are having to use more and more troops just to patrol the areas they've already conquered. That means fewer troops available for expanding their control." But Martinez knew the situation was still very bad for humanity. The aliens controlled all the major cities and industrial centers. Millions of humans had been forced to relocate to areas chosen by the aliens. Human children were being taught alien languages and alien history instead of human culture. "We're fighting for more than just military victory," Martinez reminded his people. "We're fighting to remain human." The resistance got unexpected help from an unlikely source: human children. Kids who were forced to attend alien schools often passed information to resistance fighters. They would draw pictures of alien troop movements or whisper about new alien technology they had seen. A 10-year-old girl named Amy Parker became famous among resistance fighters when she discovered that Zephyrian soldiers couldn't see well in certain types of artificial light. She noticed this when alien guards seemed confused and clumsy in her school's fluorescent lighting. Another child, 12-year-old Bobby Chen, figured out that arachnid soldiers made different sounds when they were about to attack versus when they were just patrolling. This information helped resistance fighters avoid ambushes and plan better attacks. The aliens tried to stop this by separating human children from their parents, but this only made the resistance more determined. Parents who had been trying to cooperate with the aliens suddenly began helping the fighters when their children were taken away. As winter approached, the war entered a new phase. The aliens controlled the territory, but humans controlled the spirit of resistance. Every day brought new attacks, new sabotage, new proof that conquering Earth was going to be much harder than the Confederation had ever imagined. Dr. Hayes continued working on her radio weapon, knowing that it might be humanity's best hope for turning the tide of war. But she also knew that even if it worked perfectly, the fight for Earth was far from over. Deep under the Colorado mountains, in a secret facility that most people thought was just an old mine, Dr. Alan Pierce worked on humanity's last desperate hope. The quantum resonance weapon had been just a theory before the aliens came. Now, with captured alien technology and nothing left to lose, it was becoming reality. Pierce had been one of Earth's leading scientists before the invasion. He had worked on projects so secret that even other scientists didn't know about them. When the aliens conquered Earth, he had gone underground with his research team to continue working on weapons that might save humanity. "The science is actually quite simple," Pierce explained to Admiral Morrison and General Martinez, who had traveled to the hidden facility for a briefing. "Every intelligent species has a unique pattern of brainwaves. It's like a fingerprint, but for the mind instead of the fingers." The three leaders stood in Pierce's main laboratory, surrounded by equipment that combined human engineering with alien technology. Computer screens showed brainwave patterns from 12 different alien species. "We've been studying captured aliens for 6 months now," Pierce continued. "Each species thinks in a different way, and their brains produce different electrical patterns. The arachnids think in very logical mathematical patterns. The Zephyrians have more artistic, flowing thoughts. The crystalline beings think in ways that are almost like music." Admiral Morrison studied the graphs on the screens. "How does this help us build a weapon?" "If we can create a device that broadcasts the exact opposite of these brainwave patterns, we can disrupt their thinking," Pierce explained. At low power, it would just confuse them. At high power, it would shut down their brains completely. General Martinez frowned. You're talking about killing every alien on Earth? I'm talking about winning the war, Pierce replied. They gave us a choice: surrender or be destroyed. We chose to fight. This weapon gives us a chance to actually win that fight. The weapon required enormous amounts of power and materials that could only be found in alien technology. Pierce's team had built most of it using equipment stolen from enemy facilities, but they still needed more components to make it work properly. What do you need? Morrison asked. Pierce handed her a list. Power cores from at least 20 alien ships, computer processors from their main command centers, communication equipment from every species in the Confederation, and we need all of it within the next month or the window of opportunity will close. Morrison looked at the list and felt her heart sink. Pierce was asking for the impossible. The items he needed were in the most heavily guarded alien facilities on Earth. Getting even one of them would require a major military operation. Getting all of them would require dozens of such operations, all happening at the same time. General, can our resistance forces do this? She asked Martinez. Martinez studied the list. Maybe, but it would mean coordinating attacks all around the world on the same day. We'd be asking every resistance cell to risk everything on one operation. And most of them would be destroyed in the process, Morrison added. Yes, Martinez admitted. We might win the war, but we'd lose most of our best fighters doing it. Pierce looked at both of them. I understand what you're saying, but consider the alternative. Without this weapon, the resistance can keep fighting for years, maybe decades. We can make life difficult for the aliens, but we can't actually defeat them. Eventually, they'll adapt to our tactics and crush us completely. He pointed to another screen that showed human population statistics. Every month, more human children are born in alien camps instead of free communities. Every month, more humans are taught to think of the aliens as their rightful rulers. In 50 years, there might not be any humans left who remember what freedom looks like. Morrison walked to the window that looked out over the hidden laboratory. She could see Pierce's team working frantically on different parts of the weapon. These were some of Earth's brightest minds, people who had given up normal lives to work on this desperate project. How sure are you that this will work? She asked. 90% sure it will affect aliens on Earth, Pierce replied. Maybe 70% sure it will kill them instead of just making them sick. And what about their home planets? Pierce was quiet for a long moment. If the weapon works the way I think it will, the effect might spread through their communication networks. Every alien ship, every alien planet that's connected to their networks could be affected. You're talking about genocide on a galactic scale, Morrison said quietly. They started it, Pierce replied. They came to our world and demanded that we become their slaves or die. We're just finishing what they began. Morrison made her decision. General, send word to all resistance cells. Tell them we're planning the largest coordinated attack in human history. Every major alien facility on Earth hit simultaneously. Over the next 3 weeks, resistance fighters around the world prepared for what everyone knew would be a suicide mission. The plan was simple but deadly. Hit every major alien installation at exactly the same time, causing so much chaos that some teams might actually succeed in stealing the equipment Pierce needed. Captain Tony Lewis led the team assigned to attack the main power station in what used to be New York City. His 20 volunteers spent days studying alien patrol patterns and learning the layout of the facility. They all knew this would be their last mission. Remember, we're not trying to survive, Lewis told his team the night before the attack. We're trying to succeed. Get Pierce the power cores he needs, whatever it takes. In London, Major Kelly Adams prepared her squad for an assault on the alien command center. Her target was the most heavily defended facility in Europe, protected by hundreds of alien soldiers and automated defense systems. My daughter is in one of their camps, Adams told her fighters. If we fail, she grows up as an alien slave. If we succeed, maybe she grows up free. That's worth dying for. In Tokyo, Commander Ryan Foster had the most dangerous assignment of all. His team had to capture alien communication equipment, from a facility that was built like a fortress. The aliens knew humans wanted this technology, so they had made it almost impossible to reach. We go in fast, grab everything we can carry and hold our position until the extraction team arrives, Foster explained to his volunteers. The extraction team probably won't make it, and neither will most of us. But if even one piece of equipment gets to Dr. Pierce, this mission succeeds. On the day of the attacks, resistance fighters struck simultaneously across 6 continents. The aliens had never faced such a coordinated assault before. They had dealt with small-scale guerrilla attacks for months, but suddenly they were under attack everywhere at once. Lewis's team fought through 3 defensive lines to reach the New York power facility. Half his people died in the first 5 minutes, but the survivors kept pushing forward. Lewis himself was killed while manually overloading an alien power core, but his sacrifice allowed Sergeant Karen White to escape with 2 of the devices Pierce needed. Adams's assault on London ended when she detonated explosives strapped to her own body, destroying an entire alien command center. Her team died with her, but not before they had transmitted the alien computer codes to other resistance cells. Foster held a bridge in Tokyo for 47 minutes against overwhelming alien counterattacks. He and his entire team were killed, but they bought enough time for civilians to evacuate with stolen alien communication equipment. Similar scenes played out around the world. Resistance fighters died by the hundreds, but their sacrifices were not in vain. Piece by piece, the components Pierce needed were delivered to his laboratory. "We have almost everything," Pierce reported to Morrison 3 days after the attacks. "The power cores from New York, computer processors from London, and Berlin, communication equipment from Tokyo and Sydney." "How many people did we lose?" Morrison asked. 800 confirmed dead. Fewer than 50 survivors from all the assault teams combined. Morrison closed her eyes for a moment, thinking about all the brave men and women who had died to make this weapon possible. "Will their sacrifice be worth it?" "Only if the weapon works," Pierce replied. "Give me 1 more week and we'll find out." The final week was the longest of Morrison's life. Every day brought reports of alien reprisals against human civilians. The aliens were angry about the coordinated attacks and were taking their anger out on innocent people. Children were separated from their parents. Entire communities were relocated to harsher camps. Some humans were executed as examples to others, but Pierce and his team worked around the clock, assembling the components that had been bought with so much human blood. The quantum resonance weapon took shape, a device that looked surprisingly small for something that might change the fate of 2 entire galaxies. "It's ready," Pierce announced on a cold morning in December. "The weapon is ready to fire." 6 months after the aliens first arrived at Earth, Admiral Morrison stood in the deepest part of the Colorado Mountain facility. The quantum resonance weapon hummed quietly beside her, a machine no bigger than a refrigerator that might determine the fate of every living being in the galaxy. Dr. Pierce sat at the control console, his fingers hovering over the activation switches. Around the world, every surviving human held their breath, waiting to see if their desperate gamble would save them or destroy them all. "Final systems check complete," Pierce reported. "Power levels at maximum. Targeting systems locked onto all 12 alien species. Admiral, we are ready to fire." Morrison looked at the screens around her. One showed the alien fleet still orbiting Earth, hundreds of ships that thought they were perfectly safe. Another screen showed alien ground forces patrolling human cities, confident that the broken human resistance could never threaten them again. A third screen showed something that made Morrison's chest tighten with emotion. It was a list of human casualties from the war. 2.3 million military personnel killed in the space battles, 890,000 resistance fighters dead from 6 months of guerrilla warfare, 15 million civilians killed in alien reprisals or dead in the camps. "Before we do this," Morrison said, "I want everyone to understand what we're about to become." She turned to face the dozen scientists and military officers who were witnessing this moment. "For 6 months, we've told ourselves that we're fighting for freedom, for human dignity, for the right to choose our own path. All of that is true. But we're also about to become something that humanity has never been before." Pierce looked up from his controls. "What do you mean, Admiral?" We're about to become a species that commits genocide on a galactic scale. Morrison replied, "If this weapon works the way you think it will, we won't just be killing the aliens on Earth. We'll be killing every member of 12 different species across hundreds of planets." The room was completely silent. Everyone understood the magnitude of what they were about to do, but no one had said it out loud before. Some of those aliens might be children, Morrison continued. Some might be scientists or artists or teachers who never wanted to conquer anyone. Some might have been opposed to this invasion from the beginning. General Martinez, who had come to witness the weapon's activation, spoke quietly. "Admiral, they made this choice when they demanded our surrender. We offered them peace. We offered to let them leave our system. They chose war." "I know," Morrison replied, "and I'm not changing my mind. I'm just making sure we all understand the price of survival." She walked to the activation console and placed her hand next to Pierce's. "Doctor, Pierce, fire the weapon." Pierce pressed the activation button. The effect was not dramatic. There were no explosions, no bright lights, no sound except for the quiet hum of the machine. But immediately, readings on the screens around them began to change. "Quantum resonance field established," Pierce reported, his voice tight with concentration. "Signal propagating through alien communication networks. Neural disruption patterns confirmed across all 12 species." On the tactical display, something amazing began to happen. One by one, alien ships in orbit around Earth went dark. Their engines shut down, their weapons stopped firing, their communication signals went silent. "It's working," whispered Captain Brooks, who had survived the space battles and was now part of Morrison's staff. "The orbital fleet is completely disabled." But Pierce was watching different readings, ones that showed the weapon's effect spreading far beyond Earth's orbit. "Admiral, the signal is propagating through their interstellar communication network. Faster than I expected," he said. "I'm detecting neural disruption effects in the Alpha Centauri system, then Vega, then systems I can't even identify." Morrison felt a chill run down her spine. "How far is this going to spread?" "I don't know," Pierce admitted. "Their communication network connects thousands of star systems. If the effect continues to propagate, on Earth's surface, alien soldiers were collapsing where they stood. In the camps where humans were held prisoner, alien guards fell unconscious, and humans began breaking down the fences. In the cities, alien patrols simply stopped moving and toppled over like machines that had been switched off. But the most chilling reports came from human colonies in other star systems. Captain Julie Hayes, commanding the human colony on Proxima Centauri, sent a message that reached Earth 3 hours after the weapon fired. "Earth Command, this is Hayes at Proxima Colony. Something incredible just happened here. We were under attack by a Confederation fleet when suddenly all their ships went silent. The aliens just stopped. All of them. Every alien in the system appears to be dead." Similar reports came from human settlements throughout local space. Alien attacks had simply ended, with entire alien fleets drifting powerless through the void. Dr. Pierce continued monitoring his equipment, his face growing pale as he realized the full scope of what they had done. "Admiral, I'm detecting the weapon's effect in star systems hundreds of light years away," he reported. "The quantum resonance is spreading through their entire galactic communication network. We've created a chain reaction that might not stop until it reaches every alien world in the galaxy." Morrison stared at the displays showing the expanding wave of destruction. In her mind, she could see alien worlds going silent, entire civilizations ending in moments as the weapon's effect reached them through space. "How many?" she asked quietly. Pierce was rapidly calculating numbers on his computer. "Based on Confederation records we captured, 12 species across roughly 4,000 star systems. Total population..." He paused, checking his numbers. Again. "Approximately 800 billion individuals." The room fell into stunned silence. 800 billion lives ended by a decision made in a bunker under the Colorado mountains. General Martinez was the first to speak. "We had no choice. They would have destroyed us." "I know," Morrison replied. "But that doesn't make it easier to live with." Captain Brooks looked at the display showing alien ships drifting powerlessly around Earth. "Admiral, we're getting reports from resistance cells worldwide. Alien forces everywhere have collapsed. Humans are breaking out of the camps, retaking the cities. We've won. Morrison nodded but didn't feel like celebrating. Send orders to all human forces. Secure alien technology and equipment, but treat any alien survivors with dignity. We're not conquerors. We're just people who refuse to become slaves. Over the following days, the full scope of humanity's victory became clear. Every alien on Earth was dead, their neural patterns disrupted by the quantum weapon. Their ships and equipment were intact but powerless without crews to operate them. Human colonies throughout local space reported similar results. Alien fleets that had been attacking human settlements were now drifting hulks. Alien ground forces that had occupied human worlds were gone, but the reports that truly showed the scale of what had happened came from deep space monitoring stations. Radio signals that had been coming from alien worlds for thousands of years were going silent, one by one, as the weapon's effect spread through the galaxy. Dr. Pierce spent his days studying the weapon's continuing effects, trying to understand what they had unleashed. The quantum resonance effect is still spreading, he reported to Morrison a week after activation. At this rate, it will reach the far edge of the galaxy in about 6 months. Every alien species connected to the Confederation's communication network will be affected. Morrison walked outside the facility for the first time in months, emerging into sunlight on a world that was suddenly free of alien occupation. In the distance, she could see the lights of human cities coming back to life as people emerged from hiding. Children were playing in parks that had been forbidden to them for months. Families were reuniting after being separated in the camps. Schools were reopening to teach human history and human values instead of alien propaganda. But Morrison also knew that Earth now faced a future unlike anything in human history. They were alone in a galaxy where they had just become the most hated species imaginable, if any other species survived to hate them. We chose defiance over diplomacy, she said to herself, watching the sun set over a free Earth. We chose freedom over survival. We chose to be human rather than alien pets. She thought about the billions of alien lives that had been ended by their weapon. Some had been soldiers and conquerors who deserved their fate, but others had probably been innocent people who just happened to belong to species that declared war on humanity. History will judge whether we were heroes or monsters, Morrison said, but our children will grow up free, and that has to be enough. Above her, alien ships still drifted in orbit, technological treasures that would help humanity spread to the stars. Below her, human civilization began the long process of rebuilding and healing. Earth had won its independence, but the price had been higher than anyone could have imagined. Humanity was free, but they were also alone in a galaxy that would remember what happened when someone tried to make humans into slaves. The war for Earth's freedom was over. The consequences would last forever.